Hey everyone, I want to get into our week 10 inspections. Been a couple of changes since the last time I spoke to you. Recall in this hive last week, the one on the, I guess, left side of the frame, it's a mirror image. We had lost the queen for some reason, I don't know why. Where she went, or if she died, or if the hive killed her, or why she died. If it was pesticides, we don't know. Since then, the number of bees outside has actually dwindled. I haven't really seen that many dead bees, so things overall looking good. I did take a look at the hive this past Thursday, which is 3 days ago. Today is Sunday, you know what, these days I have no idea what day of the week it is, or what actually day of the month it is, but today is Sunday, that's for sure. And on Thursday I was able to actually find that the queen had emerged, or a new queen had emerged in that hive. Great news. And it's actually kind of funny, I took video of the frames as I was looking at it, and I found the emerged cell, and I didn't actually notice it until I was looking back at the video, that the queen was right there. She's obviously not marked in this case, but she was there. So she won't be laying yet. She won't be laying any new eggs. So sort of the cycle goes is, as soon as she emerges, it takes about 4 days for her to mature, and then at least another few days to go out and mate with drone bees that are congregating in the sky. So if she emerged on Thursday, she's probably still in the maturing phase. And then after she would spend a few days mating, she would come back to the hive, and I believe there's sort of a few more days where she would have to sort of settle in before she would start laying new eggs. So I'm not going to see any new eggs today, but I do want to look inside this hive and see how things are progressing. And then I think if I was doing the math correct, maybe around June 18th is when I might expect this queen, if she survives, to start laying new eggs. And I think the hive will be able to last throughout then. You'll notice that I actually did also add the second box, because a whole bunch of bees did emerge, and it was actually getting quite busy outside the hive. You can actually see this hive is, I believe, doing some orientation flights, so there's quite a number of bees outside. It was kind of cloudy out like an hour ago, and the sun kind of broke, so I think they're kind of out and about. This one, there's a little bit less outside, but they're definitely outside. Added the second box so they have a little bit more room to bring in nectar and pollen and whatnot, because it is such a important time in the season for them to bring in that those food sources. So I don't want them to be sort of congested in that box, even though new bees aren't going to show up in this box for quite some time, with the exception of the ones that are sitting in there waiting to be hatched out. And yeah, so this hive is going nuts right now, so I might wait on inspecting that one until that's over. This again, it's called orientation flights. Bees, when they reach a certain age after they've served one purpose in the hive, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they spend their first few days cleaning out their own cell where they hatched out. They kind of use that as kind of cleaning their own rooms, and then they spend more time inside the hive. And at a certain point, when they get old enough, they become foragers. And so one of the first things they have to do as a forager is learn the orientation of where their hive is, and how to get around. So I think that's essentially bees that were all born around the same time, that are getting to learn their surroundings. So this hive, again, keeps continuing to expand. I won't be surprised if they fill out these two boxes, and I'll have to add actually some honey supers up top, which would be pretty exciting. I don't know if I'll necessarily be able to extract honey this year from this hive, but if all goes well, it seems likely at this point. This hive, maybe not so much. But who knows? Maybe this hive might recover in time. So again, I want to go through the weaker hive, see if I can spot the queen. That would be great if I can see her, just to make sure that she's definitely still doing well, and just see how else the hive is reacting to being queenless for some time. And then I'll switch gears into the active hive and see how much more they've built out that top box. Last time we saw eggs up top, so that's being a week ago. I think some of them would be capped by now. I think so. If my math is right. Forget the number on a worker when they cap a worker cell. Worker is 21 days until they hatch completely. I forget what day off the top of my head when they would cap the cell, but we should definitely see some larvae that in the frames that we were seeing eggs. Eggs are day 1 through 3. The first day the egg is kind of standing straight up. Second day it's kind of leaning towards one way, and then on the third day it's kind of laying down, and then that turns into a larva, and it's like this U-shaped thing that they the bees will feed until they cap it off. So I think that's a pretty good summary of what's going on there. And again, I'll just be doing some inspections on both hives and see if we learn anything new today. So I think what I'm gonna do is try to get this camera super close for inspections, so A, you can hear me better, and B, just to be able to see sort of a different angle. I've kind of been using the same angle for the past 9-10 weeks. Give you guys maybe something a little bit closer. And I'm always open to suggestions. This is a benefit for me to sort of reiterate things that I'm learning, but also I'm really happy to share this experience with other people. It's new to me and it's new to others, just learning about the amazing creatures that are behind me. It's fun to share. So, but I'm happy to take suggestions. If you have comments or whatever, throw them on Facebook or in this YouTube channel. I'd be happy to answer them, and that might actually help figure out what I want to do next time for when I do some recording. So I welcome all your feedback. So thank you, and let me get this camera situated and start the inspection of this guy, I guess, or this guy. Yeah, that one. Okay, thanks. Okay, I'm gonna get started on, I guess, the right hive, the weak hive. See how things are progressing. First thing we see is they are eating. Not a ton. Remember, I added some supplement to their feed. That's why those jars are kind of yellowish. They're eating some, but I haven't had to fill this thing in a few days, at least. They made any progress on any of these frames? Not really. Very little bees towards the center. Some wax on this. It's just like a little highway between the feeder jars and the bottom box. It's not going to really be anything exciting up here. Excitement will happen when I look in the bottom box. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off, set it aside, inspect the bottom. Start from this side and move towards this way. We'll count this as 1, this is 10. Starting with frame 1. Again, there really won't be much progress here since there's no new cells to be filled. Like, yeah, these are wax. There's nothing in them at all. Not even nectar. This one is full of nectar. This is all capped honey. A couple of drone broods. Finding the queen is going to be a lot more difficult today. Not sure where to expect to find her, since there's no eggs. You know, typically I can use eggs as a way to find her. She could, for all we know, not even be inside the hive. She could be out mating. So there's honey here, all capped. Everything else is nectar and pollen inside. I'm going to take my time with these frames, really try to look for that queen. Really going to look for other queen cells, because I presume the queen cells that didn't emerge or were killed off should be cleaned up soon. That's really what I'm focused on. You can see a drone is emerging sort of on this bottom of this frame, right center of the picture. That's a drone cell that's just starting to open up. And then here's the other side. You can see all that capped honey. It's honey for them, not for me. So on this side, I have still plenty of capped brood, so that means more bees will still emerge until that queen is ready to start laying. And it's worker brood mostly, a couple of drone cells. Really searching for that queen. See if I can find her. Looking at any of these cells, definitely don't see any eggs. What I don't want to find is multiple eggs in the same cell, because that could mean that there's a laying worker. A laying worker will only lay male drone cells, which is bad. So that's another thing that I'm inspecting for today. Some more capped brood. Empty cells in the middle with nothing in them at all. Capped honey in the corners. No queen cells. Oh, there's a queen. I did find her. She's hiding in the corner. There she is. I'll get her close as soon as I can. There she is. So she's running along the bottom, getting closer to that drone cell right there. She's passing the drone, coming up. Okay, she's in the empty, near the empty stuff. Coming this way. There she is. Just gonna look at her and see what she's doing. Keep my eye on her. Okay, she's up here in the corner by the honey. Probably a good time to go ahead and pop her back in. Definitely don't want to lose her. She looks good. Okay. So to recap, that was frame 4, and she was found on the inside of frame 4, if I'm counting from this side of the hive. So the rest of the inspection, these last 6 frames, what I'm just going to be looking for really is those queen cells. I think the rest of the hive should be getting rid of those queen cells if they have a healthy looking queen. I don't find any other queen cells here. Oh wait, no I do. So they're probably going to try to get rid of this queen cell. That's on the left hand side there. They're kind of covering it. Queen in there might even be dead, I'm not sure. I don't know that I'm comfortable enough yet of intervening. Let nature do its thing. that's a trick I've been learning the past few weeks, is when I put frames that they're not back where they need to go, pushing them together so I don't have bees in between the frames, and less chance of squishing them. And I do see swarm cell, queen cell, whatever you want to call it, on the bottom. That is not emerged yet. A lot of bees around it, which they may be trying to overheat it and cause it to die. There's some capped brood here, so we do have some extra workers that will emerge. Okay. Frame 9 this should be. Probably the last one that's going to have any activity on it. 10 is pretty bare. It's not uncommon for the outside frames to be full of nectar, and it's heavier than brood, so it feels heavy. And this actually has quite a bit of brood on it. This probably has the most brood of any of the frames that I've pulled in the middle. So we'll see more orientation flights happening soon for these for sort of the next generation. Again, no eggs. At this point, there's no larva. That's a good point. Look at the development cycle. Everything is capped. And that's essentially the last of the eggs that the last queen was able to lay. Not that I would expect any, but I didn't see any other queen bees around. Just workers and a few drones. So I think that's a good place to stop. Tap the couple. Put it all back together. And I don't think I need to feed them. I don't need to think I need to change anything in here. Just wrap it up, and I'll check on them in a week. Okay. Let's try this hive, the active hive. Well, it's not fair. They're active too. This one just is crazy active. Same. They kind of really stopped drinking. They probably don't need it at this point. We'll see. I'm not sure if I'm ready to take them off completely. We'll see what's in here before we make any of those kind of calls. That might be something I do midweek instead of today. I see some good activity so far. Might move the camera closer. But what I'm gonna do is take a tip from my mentor and inspect the bottom first, and then inspect the top. Just to get a better idea of what's happening down there. Wow, that is heavy. That's gotta be at least, wow. That feels 30 pounds, maybe. I've never actually tried to pick up this one. All right, first time picking up this deep. I forget how heavy these things can get when they're fully populated, but just to give myself a test. I mean, that could easily be 40 pounds right now. My purely scientific method of measuring. Obviously not. Hopefully that gives you a better look at this hive. This deep. You won't see me, but you'll see the bees. And that's what you're here for anyways. So let's start. Again, we'll start with 1 on this side, 10 on this side. Like always, like it's always been, this side it seems to have built out faster than this side, so I can see already on the inside of this frame. Should make it the easiest one to pull out first. I say the outside of this frame is not really populated, as opposed to the outside of this frame is definitely populated. So what will we look for in here today? We'll look for possibilities of swarm cells. It's very possible these guys would want to split if it gets too packed in here. It's not uncommon from what I'm hearing from other beekeepers in the area. So like I said, outside of this one, has been untouched. I'll have to mix some frames in later. And this side's got all nectar. Seems to be and honey on the top, all the cap stuff. Make sure I keep moving slow so I don't agitate them. They seem to be fairly calm. We got some clouds rolling in. Wouldn't expect the queen here. This one is going to be marked, so she should be far easier to find. Larva and these cells amongst the brood. I think that's a pretty good brood pattern. Everything is like, you know, in a nice circle. Connected, only a few dots in between that have that are empty or have a little bit of nectar in them. So queen's doing a good job. Probably should give her a name. If anyone has any suggestions for good queen names for this one and that one, happy to take suggestions. Okay, getting into the meat of it, frame 3. Lots of capped brood, nectar, no larva or eggs on this frame that I can see. No queen spotted. Move to the next side. Again, I'll look for queen cells just to be safe. Start packing these on the side here. Move through the heavily populated ones. Larvae in these cells. See some really young larvae. So queen's been here relatively recent, past 4 or 5 days. No queen on that side though. This side. Oh, I do see very little baby eggs in here. 1 to 3 days old. Queen's been by. Again, no queen cells. Bottom of the frames look clean. Not a lot of drone cells. These all things make me happy. I'll be happy when I see the queen. She could very well be in this box though. Last few frames on this box to look through. Keep moving slow. There's not a lot of flyers. The weather kind of helps with that. I see some larvae. I see eggs in there. I want to say yes. Yep, I see eggs, fresh eggs in here. So queen's been here within the last 3 days. So that's good. That means she's still alive and somewhere. No queen cups on this side. Drone brood on the bottom. This side. There's a lot of nectar. Yep, some fresh eggs in there as well. Capped brood to emerge soon. That's good. Oops, sorry girls. Okay, I'm happy with that. A bunch of fat drones. Let's see if I can get those on picture. It's so hard to see this camera. I need a cameraman. Who wants to volunteer to cameraman? You see the big, hopefully you can see the big fat boys. Those are the drones. There's like a bunch of them together. They don't do much in the hive. They just take up food and space. Let's see if I can flip this over and look inside that queen cup. Again, nothing in there. So that's good. No queen down here. Makes me think she's got to be on the top box. Put frame 2 and 1 back in and give them a second to chill, and then we'll do the top box. All right, this would be frame 1, which would have been on this side. Frame 2. No eggs here yet on this side. Nectar here mostly. Drawn comb. There's my smoker. Smoking me. Frame 3 is a ton of eggs in it. Pretty much it. That's it. Look for our queen. So we were just on frame 4 when the camera fell. I saw some larvae and royal jelly, and but no queen just yet. So good reproduction happening up here in the second deep. So you should be on frame 5 now. Lots of baby eggs. Mostly eggs in the middle. Really doing a great job building this out. Look at all that pollen in this one. Orange colored pollen. In between that is a bunch of eggs. Some young larvae. Some capped cells already here. It's good. Probably the first round of brood that's going to hatch out of these frames. Some larvae in varying ages and some young eggs as well. Again, no queen spotted just yet. No queen cups or anything of that nature in this box. So that was frame 6. These are all capped, fresh capped brood. You can tell it's kind of lighter in color. Is my short experience with this whole thing. It's darker as it ages. Same on this side. Around the edges where it's not capped is larva. That's going to get capped in the next couple of days. This is what, 1, 2, 3, 5, frame 7. This is frame 8. Has a lot of nectar in it. A lot of eggs as well. No queen spotted there. A lot of eggs here as well. So this queen's got to be somewhere nearby. I have to take a look because I'm going to wonder. The next thing that I'm going to wonder about is when it's time for me to add supers onto this box. Honey supers. And that essentially means I'll block the queen from going up in there, and the only thing they can put into those cells would be nectar. And they would stop feeding, and they would just fill it with honey based off of nectar they found in the wild, so it should taste really good. I got one frame left, and I never found the queen, but there's so many eggs in here. Could just be that just don't spot her when there's so many bees. There's no eggs on this one. Okay, so we didn't spot a queen, but all the signs point to there being a queen around. Let's slide these back, and I think we're done. And then I guess we'll summarize where we're at. So on this frame 10, we have things getting built out, comb being built on the inside of the outside frame, just barely touching on that side. It's back on in the right orientation. I know the left side goes this way. And again, this is just, I can see why some people really like, some people don't use deep hive bodies. They'll use these medium hive bodies. And so they'll just have more of them. So like right now I have 2 deep hive bodies. Some people would start out with a medium and then add another medium, and those are just far lighter to carry when they get packed like this. I can imagine, you know, somebody has back problems or what, picking this thing up especially since you really can't get, the center of gravity is so far away from you when you're picking it up. It could definitely strain your back. So yeah, so these definitely get as heavy as they tell us, and this isn't even fully packed. So I will slide this back on. And so mediums, when they're full, forget what they weigh, and especially when mediums are used for honey is going to weigh more than brood. So when those are packed, I can imagine those can get pretty heavy too, but not nearly as heavy as a deep. Then there's also shallows, which are, I don't know the exact dimensions. I don't think many are used these days. I think medium is kind of like the accepted size for many beekeepers. But yeah, these are heavy, just like they said. Again, I don't think I really need to feed these girls, but I hate this food to go to waste for right now, so I'll leave it in. Maybe next week we'll look at taking the food off and seeing if we're getting close to adding a honey super. So a lot of people ask me, hey, have you gotten any honey from your hives? And no, so I'm not getting any honey from my hives, and I likely won't this year. I will maybe get some out of this hive if I'm lucky, if I'm able to fill this box and have this box stay filled, the queen stays healthy. Like I said, what I would do is add a honey super, which would essentially be this box but with the smaller frames in it, and I'd put a queen excluder right here where this board is. That keeps the queen down here, and she would be able to lay new brood, new eggs in here, but not up top. And they would just bring the nectar in. And again, I would take this sugar water, because I don't want sugar in my, essentially just sugar being the honey source. You want it coming from the flowers. So if there's still a nectar flow and they've built this out, if all my cards aligned, I could definitely see myself adding a honey super on top of here and potentially getting a few gallons of honey. Maybe not gallons, maybe some quarts of honey, which would be kind of rewarding for all this effort, but it's really not why I started this. That's just kind of a benefit out of it. If I got no honey, I'd still be happy with just learning what I've learned thus far, and honey is a bonus. Okay, let me do my best to attempt to summarize what we saw today. We did find our queen. Let's see if I could focus here. We did find our queen in the hive farthest away from the chicken coop, so that one. We found our new queen that's not marked, so she looks good. There's still some remaining brood in there that needs to hatch out, or emerge, I guess is the correct term. And yeah, so I think we're okay there. Hopefully she is able to mature and mate in the next few days. Hopefully the weather is accommodating, and that hive will get back in action and catch up with this one here. Not a whole lot of activity up top. They're still building that out slowly. The other hive didn't find the queen, but plenty of eggs in there, so I'm pretty sure I just couldn't see her. But lots of activity. The top is just totally full. Not totally full, but like mostly there. It was super heavy. Very likely could get filled out in the next few weeks, and then I would need to add a honey super so they have more place to continue storing food for the winter and having brood to get through essentially the summer as things slow down in the nectar flow. Because I'll stop feeding them, because I still have feeder jars on there now, but that's going to end pretty soon. The best I can tell. I didn't see anything of worry. There were a lot of queen cups in the busy hive. Again, the one farthest closer to the coop. But none of them had eggs in it, so I don't believe they're ready to swarm. I think they're just there just in case they do. So I'll have to keep a close eye on that and make sure they don't swarm. because swarming essentially would take half the population and the queen away and leave me with half the number of bees and a new queen to raise, which I'd really like to avoid doing, especially since my other hive is kind of weak at this point. So that's where I am right now. I'll check back in a week. I don't know that I need to go back in during the week. I'll check the cameras to see about the sugar syrup, but it looks like they're not taking that in anymore. So I think we're in good shape. So again, that was week 10. Hopefully, if you made it this far, you enjoyed all of that, and I've kind of covered as much as I can. But if you have any questions, feel free to post them, and I'll see you next week. Thanks. Bye.